And John Cena was a doctor of thugonomics. I was like, oh, I need to start watching wrestling regularly. It kept me back because at that point in life, I'm thinking like around ruthless aggression. It was like, when I was getting old, I was like, oh, I watch wrestling when I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But when he started to switch over, I was like, this is the rap. Like, I love battle rap. I love rap that's not like terribly explicit like at the time. And I was just like, I came back to wrestling regularly because of the Doctor of Thugonomics, which goes back to my roots in hip hop and pop and bringing it together. So I like, if I didn't love music, I don't think I would love wrestling.
Today's podcast is presented by PodGo. PodGo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from PodGo. Apply today to become a member, and immediately you'll be contacted with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to include our podcast, Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings, in the How Did You Hear About PodGo section of the application. So anybody who knows me knows that I am a huge pro wrestling fan. In fact, it runs in my family. Here's the funny thing about today's episode. As you can see, the person who I'm interviewing shares the same last name. That's the one and only Miss Britt Waters. Britt and I met at a pro wrestling show, AEW, the first Dynamite in DC. She was covering the event, interviewing fans before the show. So, we met, took a picture. I was like, hey, that's Britt Waters. And I brought her on Break It Down with Brian H. last year. She agreed to come on and we talk wrestling. And the more we got to know each other this past year, I realized that we really have a lot of similar interests. But obviously, both things that we both do is being in the media business. So after a few fans kept asking her or I, hey, are y'all related? Are y'all related? We just decided to go ahead and create the Bloodline. And now, we might as well just go ahead and say it, whether it's in the bloodline somewhere down the line, that we're cousins. So I'm excited for y'all to hear this conversation as we deemed it family time, as we got a chance to really just talk about all the things that she's done in her career and how much we really have in common. So it's no denying somewhere that the bloodline crosses. So ladies and gentlemen, here's my episode with the one and only Miss Britt Waters. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line today. So here's a quick story. As of now, that is to be determined, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it, and I probably won't get heat for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say officially I have my cousin on the line, the one and only. It's Britt Waters, my bloodline. Britt, how you doing?
I am great. Thank you for having me on. We finally made it happen. How are you doing?
I'm all right. It's we in the midst of a pandemic, and we just trying to get through it. But it's not funny, but I guess coincidence that it's almost a year ago that you was on my podcast, Break It Down with Brian H. And we met almost 2 years ago at the first AEW show, and now we've established a bloodline. And it was always the question, are y'all related? This, that, and the other. And then obviously realizing both of us in media, both of us love wrestling. I mean, I think that right there just says it all. And you love cars too. I mean, I love cars, but obviously you go to another level. And see, that's where you're like my dad on that aspect. As the car show is something, and that was actually the last thing we did as far as having an outing before the pandemic. We went to the car show in Baltimore, and unfortunately it wasn't the same. I remember when we were younger, it was a lot of cars, 3 levels. Then he was like, man, I'm telling you, it ain't the same, but he don't want to go to DC or Detroit where I want him to go. But,
the Philly one is pretty good too.
Huh?
The Philly one is pretty good too.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah,
Mhm.
I've been telling him he got to go out of the city.
Yeah.
He's stuck in his way. But so when did you decide that you wanted to get into the media business? When did you decide you wanted to study this?
From birth.
Okay, see.
Um, so I remember being really young and everyone asked you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always told my mom I wanted to drive the ice cream truck. And then she sat me down and she was like, you got to stop telling people that. Let's pick another career path. So I was watching Fresh Prince when Hillary was like the weather girl. So I thought that's how real like meteorologists were. I was like, oh, they give you a script, you read it, you talk on camera. So I was like, okay. So I wanted to be the weather girl. And then I realized you have to actually study meteorology. Terrible at science. So then I transitioned into I wanted to be Oprah. I dressed up like a broadcaster for a career day in elementary school. And ever since, that's been the only thing that I could even picture myself doing besides driving the ice cream truck.
Well, it's funny you bring up the ice cream truck because that leads to another story. My grandfather on my mother's side, he had an ice cream truck briefly, and my mother
Ooh.
said when I was born, and I've had to have been probably less than 2, he had got this ice cream truck, and his name is Paul. My uncle, who got me into wrestling really heavy, well, my mother got me into it because when she was pregnant, I was kicking every time it come on. But my uncle,
Super
who like
kicks.
kind of molded the passion, his name is Troy, and then me, Brian, he named it BTP ice cream.
Okay.
So yeah, he had a truck for probably, I think maybe a year. She said one time he was on vacation and out of town, and so she had to sell ice cream out of it. So it's funny you bring that up.
I know. I could have been part of the family business.
Right. you know, but so when you was in high school, did you do anything media related? I know sometimes there's media classes or journalism classes. Did you do any of that?
Yes, for sure. I went to public school in Deptford Township. Shout out to New Jersey. And we had like a little morning news type of class where we did the morning news. So I did that. But I was also, anytime I could be doing some type of public speaking, I would do it. I was president of my class, so I did a speech at graduation and everything just felt smoothly there. So I knew I had to go somewhere that was very great for broadcasting, which led me to University of Maryland. That was within driving distance to my parents. So that's how it happened.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what made you choose the University of Maryland versus any other schools, or even going to Philly or staying in Jersey?
It was the Philip Merrill College of Journalism that really got me. And then I was in the marching band in high school and college. So we had our band competition. It was at M&T Bank Stadium. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're in the Ravens Stadium. So we had the band competition. And at the end, while they were calculating the votes, they had a college band come, and it was the Mighty Sound of Maryland marching band. And I was just obsessed. I was like, I'm going to be in that band. I'm going to that school. I'm going to get into that journalism school, and I'm going to be SVP.
What did you play?
I played the snare drum in the drum line.
Wow. So I used to, I'm church drummer from age of 12 to I'm semi-retired.
Okay.
I still got, my gospel group is still active, but the pandemic has put that on hold. I was actually so I was about to have my farewell. Like I was on my last run. Like if I could have gotten a Stone Cold Steve Austin vest, I would have wore that whole day as I was getting ready for our last anniversary. Cause I was in my head thinking one more run from
this is it. Yeah.
WrestleMania 19. And then my group manager called, in my extended family called Pops. He passed it on to my brother Maurice. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm like in tears because it's like a moment. I'm like, I don't know if I would have quit yet. But it's funny you played the snare drum because I actually tried to for the band one day, didn't make it, but I was going to be on the bass drum.
Okay, bass drum is great though.
Yeah,
I am like the woman version of you. This is so weird.
I know. I mean, we family.
Yeah.
So you was in the band was you using band in college as well?
Yeah, it was in Mighty Sound of Maryland marching band. My first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting really into the broadcasting field. So I had to, start doing play-by-play and radio and reporting during big sporting events. So I couldn't be in the band. And then I started working full time by my senior year. So I only did the band for freshman and sophomore year, but it was like an amazing experience. I love marching band.
Wow. So
Such a nerd.
So play-by-play or color commentary, which one did you enjoy more?
I loved color because, at Maryland, it's a big journalism school. So like a lot of people, all of the guys will kind of push you a certain way when you were a woman. Now, this is before Doris Burke broke barriers and is doing play-by-play in the NBA. I had never really seen it. So I just imagine that a woman has to do color and a man does play-by-play. And to get kind of in the swing of things, when it came to our sports station, I had to go, work my way around it to other sports that I wasn't as familiar with. So I definitely was like, let me do color and not play-by-play because this is my first lacrosse game. I did volleyball matches. I did everything. And then I ended up leaving the sports station and just doing a sports talk show to be the full-time PA announcer for Maryland soccer. And that really set everything off because at Maryland, soccer is our thing. Like football players are cool, basketball players are cool, but our soccer team is always good, always great. So it's definitely a feeling to be the voice of the soccer team.
Would you ever get back into it?
Into PA?
Yeah, and play-by-play and color commentary?
I would. I love all aspects of it, and it's come up now because of the pandemic. There's a need for people. I was trying to get into that wobble so bad that I was like, I can do it all. Just let me in.
Oh,
so I would get back into it, but I love the entertainment aspects of all other types of sports hosting. So it's not just my main goal anymore. I'll do whatever they tell me to do for real.
So I'm gonna put this in the atmosphere. Pro wrestling. Would you want to call a match?
Of course. Hell yeah.
I think I knew the answer, but I just had to make sure. Yeah, we got to figure this out because I called WSU. I forgot the title of the show. I want to say it was Breaking Barriers 4. That might be the wrong one, but the main event was a War Games match. And in the match, I remember it was Mia Yim, Leva Bates, Chrissy Rivera, and so many people. And it was different because, and I'm not making any excuses, but one of the things I noticed with that is that you have to have chemistry with the person you're sitting aside with. I was asked to fill in because I was the social media manager, and being a social media manager for the company, I knew all the storylines. So it was like, okay, we don't have a color guy. Hey, well, Brian can do it. I don't care for the owner as much. He was real quiet when the women were speaking out for reasons so he wouldn't get caught. But that was one thing he had recommended to my boy Blake. Blake was the booker at the time. He said, well, why don't we have Brian do it? So I shout
out to those friends, because that's how I've gotten so many jobs. It's just like I never would have seen myself in this space until someone dropped my name in a room that I wasn't in.
And for me, it was definitely something I wanted to do. I'll send you a clip. It was cool being able to call like Mia Yim getting in there. And, it was some things I kind of over prepared. Like I was like, I knew she had did the Cage of Death, or not, maybe not the cage. No, she was in a cage match with Allison Kay a few years prior when I believe she broke Allison Kay's nose. So I was like, she's used to cages and chaos. Or something like that. But I'm sitting here like, well, maybe if we had Britt and Brian calling a match, it would work out, because we obviously, we've done a few shows together now. So with the guy, shout out to MOJ, he's great at what he does. I just didn't know, I didn't want to jump over him, and so I felt like I couldn't be as good because I didn't have that. We probably had 10 conversations before that day. And then it's like, oh yeah, you got to go sit with him for a whole show. And he was great. He was like, he didn't, he was very patient, and, he didn't, when he would let me speak. So I got to give shout out to him. But yeah, I think
Definitely.
that would be, something you would be great at in wrestling because
I love it. And the opportunity has come up so many times, but it has to be the right way. Like I can't go to a random promotion if I don't know anything about it. I was also going to do some ring announcing, but COVID happens.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I am so into sports entertainment because my whole career has been sports and entertainment. So putting it together, it's just like the perfect combination to me.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I always respected about you is you make sure
Thank
you
you.
give it your all. You're not just going like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, just to see me. No, you want to make sure it's the right thing that you know about the promotion. That way you can give
Mhm.
everybody their just due as far as respecting what they do.
Yes,
Mm.
100%. And especially when it comes to wrestling, I tell people it's a different audience because everybody can call themselves an NBA and NFL fan. That's just part of being an American. We're all around sports. So that happens. But people can exist without ever having a connection to wrestling. So I tell people that think they can just jump in the business for some clout that is not going to work because people can see right through it. Wrestling fans are so, you know, attached to it that they will see if you are not authentic. They will see if you don't know what you're talking about. They will see if you're just here for, the bright lights. And you have to really ingratiate yourself with that audience because they kind of determine what's happening.
Mhm.
You can have all of the pro wrestling friends, but like if you're not tapped in, you're not going to be respected.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna stick with wrestling since we're there. You created your show, my wrestling opinion, which I'm a huge fan of, obviously.
Thank
Uh,
you.
were you nervous about your first show?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I look back at it. I'm like, oh, it looks terrible. Like what? So I had been putting together a show that was very different. I was traveling to all of the AEW shows, and you were part of it. I
Hmm.
was interviewing people in line. So I did it here, I did it in Philly, I did it in a few places, and I was enjoying it. And as soon as I was planning the launch and all this stuff, show stopped. So I was like so bummed because I had all of this content and I was excited about it. So it was a part of me that felt like maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to do because, what a coincidence that I make a show around pro wrestling shows and pro wrestling shows now I can't go to.
Hmm.
So it was a part of me that had a little bit of doubt there. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just pivot and try to do this show from my apartment and just talking about my wrestling opinion and see if people even care or respond. So I was definitely nervous, but I think I got reassured by just the community and just everyone being like, yo, this is cool. Keep doing it. Keep going. Because I had this thought in my mind that I wasn't supposed to make wrestling content because when I did, wrestling shows stopped.
Yeah, but the best thing about I noticed, as we obviously 10 years of the wrestling realm is bringing people together, but meeting other wrestling fans. When the
Yes.
first time I had a show with my cousin who I've cut off. But once he, kept getting in trouble, it was like he got in trouble at the wrong time. We get momentum. And
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, dude, you 6 years older than me. You should know better. And that's when, I go to school, meet Dwayne, and the rest is history. But we start going to shows, and this is at the time Ring of Honor was in Baltimore. And
Hmm.
I was like, yo, people like really know us, like coming up to me, hey, you noticed that now. And I really noticed it when I had made the announcement on Facebook that I was moving to Connecticut to work at ESPN. And MCW used to do their brawl. It was like a show they used to do to be Rally in the Alley. It was the last show before football season. They would do it in White Marsh. And I saw I got like a lot of love from fellow wrestling fans like wishing me good luck. Like, oh, we gonna still see you around. Like, oh yeah, the realm ain't going nowhere. We'll figure it out. So I'm really excited, especially for you when shows do open back up to see, the my wrestling opinion live at shows.
Yes, I love it. I got a little taste from doing the Instagram lives on pay-per-view days. Cause
Mhm.
like I have like, you or someone that I know to come on with me and then I open it up and my Instagram is public. So whoever wants to come on and join can come through. And to see people from all around the world tap in, it's crazy. And it's those moments that you can't really get in traditional media anymore because, you know, you got to have a bleep button. We have to have a delay. We have to have you sign a waiver. But I'm like, I'm live on Instagram and anybody can come and tell me I'm an idiot because I like Baron Corbin, or like, I don't know anything. And we can go back and forth. So it's those moments that really make me excited to do it and excited to check out everybody else's content too.
I knew he was going to slide Baron Corbin in there.
I had to. He's my king.
Oh man,
he's my king.
I'll say this: since we first did the show, he's grown on me a lot.
There we go.
I will never be as big of a fan as you, Blake, and my boy Banks, but he's definitely grown on me. You know, he's King Corbin. People say they want to see him take off the crown. Do you?
When it makes sense, but I mean that's his whole persona now. But I do think that he's such a good heel and has been for so long that it's time. It might be time. It might be time to go face. And I think that's when he drops the kingship. Not like now, but like he's put so many people over. I feel like he deserves a moment where people really like you. I heard one of his interviews. I think it was with Buster. I want to say it was a Buster out of Philly. And he was just like, it's so hard to be a heel and to come out and get booed every single time. And I'm like, man, you've been a heel for a long time.
He do it so well, like compared to the first time when he had hair, he was annoying. But now I'm like,
I don't even know if we can call that hair. It was scraggly and wet. The hairline was
exactly. You know, like now he's good. But you know, y'all Corbin fans, I don't want to see him turn face. I mean, I know we'll get going on a wrestling conversation. We'll say that for a special. But you know, so switching over, so you said you hosting and sports entertainment. What was your first opportunity out of college?
So my first opportunities were in school. Maryland has this where we have to do internships. It's not an option for us. I was interning at the Baltimore Business Journal, doing a bunch of digital videos for them. I remember I met so many people and I was like, hey, I really want to do radio. And this was back before podcasting was what it is now. Mind you, I graduated in 2013. So people were scared about terrestrial radio and where it was going. Everyone's like, you need to do TV. You need to do print. And I was like, I really want to do radio. I got a chance to tour at WKYS. And I was like, I want to intern with the morning show. Like mornings is like my thing. And they were like, we do not have interns. So I got a different internship in the building and then would just sit with them all of the time. And I ended up just becoming their intern. It went from picking up Starbucks drinks to, hey, can you watch the board for a minute? Hey, can you voice this? How's your writing? And it just was a natural flow. And then after graduation, I think it was like 2 days after graduation, I was ready to take this like MMJ role in Tyler, Texas, reporting news, which I didn't want to do, but I thought that's what I'm pretty sure the salary was like $19,000 at the time. And I was ready to pick up and move my whole life. And Russ Parr himself called me and he was like, we want to bring you on as our assistant producer. And I was like, you saved my life. So that happened my senior year and then became official like a day after graduation.
Wow, that's amazing. So you graduated in 13 also?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's when I graduated. Now, granted, I'm older, and so it's supposed to be one, and it'll be a 3-year break. So that's
I recommend that because as soon as you go to college and you come out and you have bills to pay, you're never going to have another chance to take a break.
Yeah. Well, so with me, I went to community college and I didn't do well the first semester. So I could only take part-time classes for the next 3 semesters. Then the following, so that's my 3rd year. The next 2 semesters I was taking a full schedule. You know what I mean? Even at one point it took 19 credits because I was like, I'm not gonna be in community college 4 years. And in Baltimore, a lot of people would say I went to Baltimore City Community College, but wouldn't graduate. So I would like had this chip on my shoulder. No, I will be somebody who will finish. And because of that, I took a year break. Like I said, it was supposed to be 1. Ended up being 3. And then that's when I went to Morgan State. And then I was going to major in broadcast journalism. And right before I started school, shout out to Monique Jones from the Undefeated, she told me about production. So that's when I got into production. I was going to double major. But then I ended up taking, I was mixing the classes, and instead of them rushing through my last semester, I took my time, which I'm glad I did because Dwayne Wickham came and took the changed the whole school.
Wow.
Were you a part of NABJ?
Not until after college.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know quite a few people, every time at the convention, I always see all the Maryland graduates get together and take their pic. Shout out to Kelsey and Jesse because they always like leading the pack.
Yes. I mean, I never really tapped into that resource the way I wanted to.
Mhm.
I've always been blessed to have opportunities happen in an organic way, but I love that it's there for people. And I wish that I took more advantage of that circle, because networking, especially in this industry, is so important. And not only just networking so you can get opportunities and jobs, but just so you can have conversations with
Yep.
people who know what you're going through, who can help you with something, or just someone to vent to that understands. And that's what I found was some of the hardest parts of working in this industry. And, my roommate for 7 years, until like 4 years ago, of course, we got old and had to not be roommates. Like, she was a school teacher, and like, she didn't understand why I had to go to a club and tell people don't buy drinks and scream on a microphone, or like some of the pressures of things like that. So I love that NABJ and all organizations like that exist.
Yeah, one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, at the next convention, which we now know, Houston will be virtual. So Vegas, I'm gonna try to organize a group of us who are wrestling fans. So
Oh, yes.
shout out to David Shealy, who's been on the show. Try to get a bunch of us wrestling fans who are in a BJ to all come together, and maybe even if it's just a show or something, just or
Hmm.
create some content.
Yes,
So,
create content, and even if we're just chilling and getting some food, like,
exactly.
to be in that room would just be such a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, we're everywhere. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, we're everywhere. So how did you get into hosting with digital automotive? I saw you with the cool cars, and I'm like, wow, those look amazing. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I was at 94.7 Fresh FM doing nights, and
Mhm.
one of our production guys had Auto Mentality. It was like a sports, it was a car blog, and he would always do a lot of like freelance video for Exclusive Automotive, who is the Bentley and Aston Martin dealer out in Tysons. And he was like, we had someone on. They were trying to do the clickbait pretty girl video, and I guess it didn't work. And he was like, we really just need someone who can talk. So can you come and just read something, and then we'll see what happens. And then I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I need to drive this car. Like, I need to, do all those steps. And they really just gave me some freedom with it. And, we're like so many millions of views in that it's so fun. So I do all of their digital car tours and test drives. I host all of the events around the city, including the car show. And a lot of like the private events. We did like a polo match and had Bentleys there. Like, it's opened up so many doors and just cool connections with people. And who doesn't want to drive, $500,000 cars?
Were you always like heavy in the cars growing up?
So my dad was obsessed with cars, and I blame him. He's like a vet guy. So he's always like, okay, you could do these little cars. And he got me into cars a lot. I had car posters on my wall when I was growing up,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things that I was like, I grew up and I loved, and then like I lost my love for it as I, got into other things as an adult, started watching, I don't know, music videos and wrestling and things like that. And then just being around them so much, I've gotten back into it, and it's so fun.
So I'm pretty sure he's asked you like a lot of questions about them when he saw you doing like the videos.
Yes. He's like, can you bring one home? I'm like, no.
So I
They're
used
always like, Britt, take the car for the weekend. I was like, yeah, you don't want this car parked in Southeast where I stay. You don't want that smoke.
I used to sell cars for about 6 months, and
It's
my
so cool.
dad who's also like heavy into cars. He would just come up, and at the time wasn't driving. So when he would pick me up from work, he would just come look around, or like that. I get off at 9. He come in at 8:30 just so he could browse the lot. And he said that was something he always wanted to do. He just didn't want to deal with the paperwork. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, you don't even do that much. You just write a couple of things and hand it to the finance manager. So yeah, I think, what's your dream car?
Oh, like lifelong, I always wanted a Hummer. And of
Okay.
course now I would have to get like an O1, trick it out, do something like that. But that it was something that I always loved. And then now as an adult, I love the Bentley Bentayga. I think because
Okay.
I've spent so much time with it.
Mhm.
And currently I own a Fiat. So that's a big difference from a Hummer and a Bentayga. But it's just the sense of power you feel when you're in it.
Oh
Because
man.
it's so big and commanding, but it's also the luxury part of you're in a Bentley.
Yeah.
Like that comes together, and I just love that. So I would really want a Bentayga, but like 12-year-old me wanted a Hummer really bad.
Oh, that's amazing. So you with the Wizards,
Uh,
did you like first of all, growing up, who was your team? Was it the Sixers? Or did you not have a team? Or you're gonna say not applicable at this moment?
Here we go. I grew up in South Jersey,
Mhm.
and my dad had this Sixers poster in his office. And I don't know what like little Britt was thinking, but I always thought that like this picture was him back in the day when he used to play. You know, how dads always hype up their athletic abilities to you. And it was actually a picture of Dr. J. And I was like, I really thought Julius Erving was my dad, and that my dad was this big 76er superstar in my head. So of course that's who I was a fan of. When reality hit me, I was like, that's not you, Dad. That's not you. So yeah, I grew up, I was Allen Iverson for Halloween once, and then I just decided to be him for life for like a year in middle school. I would like Sharpie his tattoos on me. I had braids all of the time. Like I just wanted to be Allen Iverson. So I've always been an NBA fan like my entire life.
Do you remember the commercials with the crossovers?
Absolutely. I used to be able to rap the entire like Reebok commercial that he did with Jadakiss. And then I always had an issue because I was a huge Kobe fan my
Oh.
entire life. But it
Mhm.
was okay because he was from Philly and I'm from South Jersey. So it felt okay, but it was always like, you cannot be a Laker fan, blah, blah, blah. So my likes have always been all around. But now I am so dedicated as a Wiz fan.
Yeah. So, how did you get that opportunity? And can you talk about like, essentially it's a dream. You working in the NBA, lifelong NBA fan, and the WNBA.
Yeah. So I am very tall for a woman, and for some reason, God did not bless me with athletic ability when it comes to basketball. I could always make the team because of my height. I'm
Mhm.
really good at free throws, but like I, for a minute, thought I was going to be in the WNBA and win a championship. So to be able to win a WNBA championship as, as a host was kind of a full circle moment for me. And all those times I was sitting on the bench in high school playing basketball. But I was doing some hosting, and one of my friends was like, you really need to get into in arena sports hosting. Like it's a job that's like made for you. You already do it in life on the radio. And it was literally a Google search. I was like, who owns all the teams in DC? Monumental sports jobs. Did a Google search, went to an audition and did a traditional audition in front of an empty crowd, and got hired as one of the Arena Football League hosts for the Washington Valor. And from that, I just grew in the Monumental family. I connected with the Mystics because I had done play-by-play women's basketball for Maryland. And at the time, half the Mystics were Terps. So it was perfect. I was like, wow, I remember announcing you in college, and now I'm doing the same professionally. So going with the Mystics, it was just a natural progression to get to the Wizards. And it's been a journey.
So you
Like,
got two championships with the Valor and the Mystics.
mm-hmm.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. What did it mean when you got that ring? Because so I marked out. Because you family. So
Yeah.
and one of my goals is to work for a team, be it the Ravens or the Orioles. And so when I see this and I see you with your ring, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. But what did that mean?
It was a win for like everybody for
Hmm.
me. It was a win for like every little girl who is awkwardly tall like me, who can't dribble. And it was just it just opened doors for me to see like how far you can go in sports without ever having to touch the ball. And it just felt so fulfilling. Not just for me, but for everyone, like showing the ring off to my family, like crying with the players after the game. Like it's been a journey, especially with the Mystics organization. And I think we won at the right time. If you remember, we had a finals appearance the year before and it was a mess. We weren't in our home arena. We were jumping from college to college. I hosted for them when there was nobody in the stands, and now games are sold out. It's hard to get a Mystics ticket. So it was a journey that I felt like I went on with them. So getting that ring not only just solidified me in the Mystics family, but just me as like a person in sports hosting. And I don't take it for granted. I love it.
Yeah, I remember the campaign running back, and because the first one was like, man, you obviously being in this area, you root for them when they're there, no matter who your team is, unless you're one of the Baltimore people that just can't stand DC. But there's so while there's not a lot of Wizards fans in Baltimore, there's a handful, but there's so many Mystics fans. And I think it's because like when the WNBA started, those who love WNBA just like hop right on, so when the first one, it was like, oh man, but now hearing you, it's like it was a blessing in disguise.
It was, because I feel like the way we won was what the fans deserved. There are founding fans that I talked to who have been through it all. And to win in that atmosphere and to know that the presentation that we were putting on was also a championship presentation. I've talked to players around the league who are like, we are intimidated to play in DC because so many WNBA teams are playing in NBA arenas that are empty. So like when we come to DC and it's loud and it's crazy and fans are passionate and I don't know if it's just me leading the pack or just people super into it. It was really making a statement. And I feel like WNBA fans will always be of such importance to me because they're different. When you think about the NBA, the NFL, people go there for business meetings. They go there to show off their outfits. They go to NBA games just to have a good hot dog day or somewhere to take the kids. But when you go to a WNBA game, you're usually invested. You're a WNBA fan to even get that far. So it's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the pandemic has shifted how you do your job with the Wizards, which I think is incredible. And trust me, I'm not just saying this because you want to hear me. We family. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours. But
Thank you.
To see how y'all been able to do the virtual things, when did that idea come up? And was that something that you was nervous about on whether or not it would work or whether it would get, people engaged?
For sure. It was definitely a awkward transition. I mean, as soon as I was actually chosen for NBA All-Star and I had all of these ideas and I was super excited when we got back. And I think it was maybe 2 weeks and they shut the league down. So we were like, what are we going to do? When the team went to the bubble, we had kind of a virtual show and it really worked. We were like, how can we incorporate this into game days when, we started a whole new season? And for me, it was natural because my background's in radio. So I felt at home. I was like, I was telling my co-host, I am used to sitting in a studio talking to myself and telling people to get hype and things already. So I'm used to the empty arena feeling. I was more nervous in front of 20,000 fans. So I feel more at home. I think the worst part is talking through a mask, but whatever it takes to be safe and to be secure and to still put the show on, I will do.
What's been some of your favorite moments this season?
I mean, I have to say right now, the 5-game winning streak. But outside of that, like I said, I was so blessed to be chosen as one of the NBA hosts at All-Star last year. And when I tell you, it felt like people were coming up to me and giving me their condolences. They were like, we're sorry Bradley Beal's not here. I was the only host from the Wizards, and they would come up to me, people from all over, like, we're so sorry Brad's not here. Brad should be here. Respect to you guys. Shout out to DC, blah, blah, blah. And it was frustrating. And I was like, I want the world to know what we have here. So I think the best moment so far was him being named not only to the All-Star game, but as the All-Star starter. And to see how, people really are respecting him, not just as a Washington Wizard, but as one of the best players in the league right now.
Yeah, it's so weird because if you follow the Wizards, Bradley Beal's been that dude. Even when John Wall was here, Bradley Beal has been that guy. And I know people always try to create this dissemination between the two that they don't like each other.
So fake.
And it's annoying because it's like you got so I was in Connecticut at the time, and this, working at ESPN, a lot of times some teams can get lost in the shuffle. But the Wizards were one of those teams that was like a marquee game. We paid attention to them. And I was there the night I had just came home. Me, my wife, and kids were out the night that I think it was Paul Pierce hit the shot.
Oh,
and it was a big moment, and it felt like that team could get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Unfortunately, the Hawks were in the way. I think it was the Hawks, right? Yeah.
When you get a little piece of momentum, it changes everything. When I tell you about a week ago, people were like shaming the Wizards, talking all this crap. And now you get a little win streak and people are like, we winning the championship. Like, fans can be fair weather. So you got to stay loyal to your team. Seeing Brad get his flowers was amazing. Being back with the fans is just amazing. And then, of course, when we acquired Alex Len was another person I used to announce in college at Maryland. So to have him on our team, it's another full circle moment. That's just like, wow, we both really doing the exact same thing we were doing and in the positions that we want to be in.
Yeah. Now I want to shift to your radio career because you've, been a prominent voice in DC. Just can you talk about what it's like to do that, especially in a major market?
Thank you so much. I can't think of another city that I would want my journey to be in. And the way that the district has embraced me and the ways I can touch the city, it's been an amazing journey. Because at this point, I've been on 3 radio stations in DC. So to see the same people kind of follow my journey and listen to my shows, it's amazing. Being with Russ Parr was like a life-changing, career-changing moment. Working with people I dreamed of that were veterans in the game. I learned everything and absorbed it. But, growing up, I come from a church family. I couldn't listen to all of the Little Kim and the Murder Inc. that I wanted to. So I was very much like a pop fan. I had Britney Spears t-shirts. Like I still have a crush on AJ from Backstreet Boys, but I respect his marriage. So when I saw there was an opening at 94.7 Fresh FM, I was like, not only do I want to be in that space, but I also want to be another Black voice that's on the pop side, because I feel like there could always be more of those. So doing nights there was great. And then it felt like home just being at WPGC.
Now, you growing up in church, and you said growing up in church family, like, did you like sometimes sneak over to like and buy the unedited version of the CDs when you had your money?
So one thing about my mom, we're not like classic PKs because like I never really had to sneak and do anything.
Okay.
I had to just ask her. And she's like, just get the clean version. I mean, you know what the dirty version sound like. You hear it at school. You download, what was it? Not Napster. What was the other one we used? Yes. And then you could get all the dirty versions for free. Yeah. I had on my little Zen Creative because I couldn't get the iPod. So that's how I got the dirty music and ended up listening to like Lil Wayne.
Yeah. So before that, I had, I remember like, the first CD I bought was Mace, and Kmart used to sell the clean version. But Caldors, I don't know if you remember that, but Caldors.
Oh, Caldor, take me back.
I know, right? They would sell the dirty version, and then they're inside the mall. There was a Suncoast, which I think became FYE, or they was 2 separate ones out in one of the malls in Baltimore. So when I would be in the mall, that's why I would get the dirty version. I remember one time I was ready to get the DMX CD, and my mother saw it. And of course, there's this bloody man, this dark as hell is hot. No,
I was about to say that you could cover up the parental advisory sticker with your thumb.
Bingo.
That cover.
Exactly. And so, so I can understand, and my mother, she was the same way. She would be like, y'all can listen to what y'all want. And she would even let us listen to it in the car if it was clean. Now, my sister, she accidentally bought her the explicit version of Puff Daddy All in the Family, that CD. And, sitting there playing All About the Benjamins. And it's up loud. And I remember I was playing a video game. And I was like, did Lil' Kim just say what I think she did? And I was like, what in the world? So, of course, she didn't even make her take it back. She's like, you just know you ain't supposed to say those words.
Right. I'm trying to think what got me caught. My dad was like doing something with my first car and
Mhm.
got in and it just started automatically playing. Remember when that used to happen
Yep.
if you close enough? Oh my goodness. And he was like, what in the world? It was Lil Wayne. It was like, what is it? Pleaser. That's what it
Oh.
was. And my dad was like, I wanted to burn the whole car. It was bad. But yeah, it shaped my music interest and I love all genres. So I feel like where I'm at now is perfect with my
Mhm.
position at Sirius XM. Not only am I touching everybody nationally, like how I started with the nationally syndicated Russ Parr morning show, but now it's really every genre. We're doing a countdown show that's just whatever people thumbed up. So like last week, I think I had Pink, I had Pooh Shiesty, I had like everybody. It just is everything. So it's a perfect position to be in.
Yeah, I think that's really good, especially for inclusion, you because it
Mhm.
allows you to connect with everybody. Me, I know everything comes back to wrestling, but like I would always buy the wrestling albums. And a lot of the wrestling stuff is heavy metal, rock and roll with occasional
Mhm.
rap. And people like, what in the world are you listening to? I was like, oh, that's just my theme song, and showing up like even like Chris Jericho, his theme song is even, some people may not like him at the moment, but I'll play Judas all day.
I love Judas. You know that.
Yeah.
I dumped out the little bit of bubbly on my show, but
Mhm.
I sing that song every time.
You
But
can't help
it's really what got me back into it because like
it.
when John Cena was a doctor of thugonomics, I was like, oh, I need to start watching wrestling regularly. It kept me back because at that point
Okay.
in life, I'm thinking like around ruthless aggression. It was like, when I was getting old, I was like, oh, I watch wrestling when I watch it.
Mhm.
But when he started to switch over, I was like, this is the rap. Like, I love battle rap. I love rap that's not like terribly explicit, like at the time. And I was just like, I came back to wrestling regularly because of the Doctor of Thugonomics, which goes back to my roots in hip hop and pop and bringing it together. So I like, if I didn't love music, I don't think I would love wrestling.
Wow, so that's why John Cena is your favorite.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, I don't care what anybody say. He's the GOAT. You look at
Thank you.
you and as much as this might not be popular, you already know I'm a Hogan fan. I'm a
Yeah.
Brett fan, and I respect what Bruno San Martino did. But at the same time, like, and I was explaining this to my mother the other day. I said, "Ma, like John Cena was on top longer than anybody." I said, yeah, Hogan was there, but then he went to WCW. I said, Bruno, it was just him. I mean, no disrespect to like superstar Billy Graham and Pedro Morales,
Yeah.
but Cena literally was like he went through all eras, the Triple H's, the Rocks,
And was on top the
he
whole
was
time.
top, yeah, and then guess what? If he was there today, he would still be on top. I kind
Still
of
be
wish he
on top.
was. I'll admit, kind of miss John Cena. Uh,
I miss him, but like that funhouse match that we got that took
mhm.
us through his career, I was like, I understand if you stop here.
Yeah.
But so many people were like, because we got to see him in the NWO stuff. We got to see he's gonna come back as a heel. I'm like, Cena is never gonna be a heel. Like, just get over that.
Mhm.
And I think what makes him so special is like, I don't think of a time that he was ever a mid-carder or that he
Yeah.
was ever like, it's just like so obvious to me. So it bothers me when I meet wrestling fans, and some people are gatekeepers, which is
Mhm.
annoying.
Yes.
And they'll be like, hey, how are you? Be like, hey, oh, you like wrestling? Oh, you like, who's your favorite wrestler? John Cena. I'm like, and they walk away because they're like, you don't know anybody. You just pick John Cena. That's like saying your favorite wrestler is The Rock. But I'm like, but if it is, I'm not gonna front.
Mhm. And that's
He's
what I
our
said
favorite.
on Clubhouse. Like, we all are fans. Like, whether you're just a fan of WWE or if you're just a fan of New Japan, don't bash
Yeah.
other fans. Like, and
Yes.
Dwayne has a saying. He said, "That's why people on the outside make fun of us now." He said, because we act like this and we cry when we can't get our way. And like I said, like with John Cena, when he made that flip to the Doctor of Thugonomics, even though he was U.S. champion, it was as if like, okay, we want to make sure we build you properly, but you're still must see TV. So he was a main
Yes.
eventer because he was facing Kurt Angle. So he was facing
Mhm.
top guys then. Y'all know me and Britt will talk
Absolutely.
wrestling
I
anytime.
know. Oh my gosh. It keeps happening. But it really is like, it was a full circle moment for my career. It was like, when people say, what brought you back to wrestling? It's John Cena, and it's him being a rapper.
and that's, that's really cool. So how have you been able to like balance everything during the pandemic? Like, between the radio in the mornings and then, doing your stuff for Sirius FM and XM and then the Wizards, like
Not well.
okay.
And that's something I'm learning, and it's something I'm coming into. And, you get in this position in life post 25 where you feel like you're not fresh out of college anymore, but you also can't light a candle to people who have been doing the things that you're doing in the industry for 20 plus years. So I got into a part where I was like, I can't always say yes anymore, because I find myself working 17-hour days. And it doesn't matter how much you work out or how good you eat or how much sleep you try to get. After 25, working these long hours ain't it. So I realized that about like the end of last year. I was burning out. I was sleeping through meeting. It was bad. And I was like, I'm going to take a break from the things that like I don't have to do, and I can stop doing stuff. So that's when I took a break from my wrestling show, because I was like, I don't want to ever create content out of like feeling like I have to. I want to do it because I like it. And I also know that like you can get to a point, and I'm sure you know this too, because you've been doing stuff for so long. You can edit something, you can produce something with your eyes closed. But I always think like, what is your potential if you can do something and feel really prepared? So I was working like mornings, working a whole day job, hosting a TV show, doing this, and then rushing to the arena to host a game. And I was like, if I'm good at this, can I be great at this if I actually spend the whole day focusing on this game and then put things off till tomorrow? Or if I actually pay attention to who I'm collaborating with and, take time to do the research, to listen to their shows, to have these kind of connections instead of just jumping on everybody's podcast because they DM'd me, It's that kind of discipline that you really have to have. And I wish I had it earlier on.
I want to take a quick minute to talk about mental health. As you all know, we are living in unprecedented times, whether it's the racial pandemic or the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I want to introduce you to Hope Again Counseling Services, where transformation begins. Hope Again provides help for children, adolescents, adults, family, and couples. So give them a call at 410-698-8442 or visit them on the web at yourhopeagain.com to book your appointment. If you are willing to believe, you will begin to achieve, and ultimately, Hope Again Counseling Services can help you receive all that is meant for you. Yeah, well, I again think you did a great job. I can understand taking a break. Of course, fans like me, we was like, man, we want an opinion. But
yes,
it's
I'm coming back in March, by the way.
March, yes. So
exclusive
season. And that's another reason why, like, I'm glad you came on here, but I was like trying to pace because I'm like, I want to get you on the Wrestling Realm show around WrestleMania. And I was like, that's enough time where you can get your break, where you could come on, because that's our Super Bowl.
That's our Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm coming back super duper duper soon with some new stuff, and I'm so excited about it. And this is the way I really wanted to come back. So it's like, oh, how are you enjoying your time? I was like, working a 5-game Wizards homestand, waking up at 4 a.m. for the morning show, doing my radio show. But you have to make space in your life for the stuff that you really love, that you might not be getting paid for, because it won't feel like a job. You've inspired me with that, with coming out and saying that you need a break sometimes, to take your break, and you having such a passion for something that you created. Like, it's a different feeling, like you can be like, oh, I did a really good job at work today. Like, that's great. But when you do a really good job at some stuff that you started, it's a different level of fulfillment. And like, I hope to be where you are one day, 10 years in, like, yeah.
It's challenging, especially when you're co-creating, especially when we first started, we was in college. We were like, okay, you got work today? No, I got work. No, cool. I'm on my way. Let's do a show. All right, bet. We could do that sometimes twice a week. Then you become adults, life happens, you have family, so you got to plan accordingly. So like even right now, as we're recording, penciled in Saturday is going to be a shoot day where we just
Yep.
sit and film stuff. Hopefully we can get it done. You know, the last time it was a couple weeks ago, like Dwayne came over and he was over here for about 7 hours and we was just going over strategies and going over things, but also it was also a time for us to kind of like relax because
Yeah.
we was doing so much outside of this, but it was like, okay, we can, you know, essentially chilling together, but also relaxing and, you know, watching other wrestling podcasts or watching wrestling. So, you know, it's definitely challenging, but you know, I have no doubts that, you know, my wrestling opinion will be celebrating a 10-year
Thank you.
anniversary on a huge platform. That's what I'm
Yay.
looking forward to. I know I always have fun. A couple of times I've been on there. You got me in contact with Coley, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
did Title Tuesdays and messed around and
The
bought
amount of belts
3
that
belt
y'all
sets.
collectively have. Oh my gosh. You could melt them things down and build it at school.
And you know, since that show, I got 3 belt sets. Since doing
And to everybody
hashtag.
listening, that show wasn't that long ago, guys.
I bought I bought the scratched attitude era, scratched logo right after that. And then it was the Andre belt and then the UK and you know, but I got a chalk line jacket on the way. Matter of fact, supposed to be
Yes. Yes. Team
so
chalk line. I love chalk line.
I
They
mean,
always hold it down.
yeah, I see you've been holding that down now.
You know, I mean, huh?
Which was your first chalk line?
Oh.
And for those who don't know, chalk line is a special, I guess it's a special line of clothing between pop culture, wrestling. They got customized jackets. So, you know, if you were a cartoon fan from the 90s, they got content for you. For us, they got wrestling shirt. Well, they do got shirts like tank tops and stuff.
Yeah.
The jackets
I think
and the shorts are the flagships.
yes. My first purchase was shorts because like I ain't happy like that. So I had some shorts. But my favorite has to be the Faces of Foley jacket.
Okay.
It has literally all of his different gimmicks and personas on the coat.
That's
so it's
cool.
It's one of my favorites. And
Have
of
you
course,
had a chance to meet him?
Foley. I haven't.
Okay.
I have a plan. And this is, I don't even know where this is coming from, but like, I want him to officiate my wedding because he like officiates weddings.
Okay.
So hopefully I marry a wrestling fan.
Hey,
and it's some people I've learned from kind of working in radio and just meeting and being around so many artists. It's like some people in your life, and it's different from wrestling because like wrestling fans are really tapped in with the superstars and really want to be close to them. Some people, it's like, I don't want to meet you just yet until like, because I don't want to ruin the mystique, you know?
I will say this, that would be cool. And I mean, first of all, not to be sexist here, but you'll be the woman, so it'll be your day. So whether you're a wrestling fan or not, you will you can make that call. I mean, shout out to my wife.
Yeah.
I came out to a theme music. I'll go ahead and say it. You could guess whose music it was. And I did Structure Pose.
Of course you did. That's cool. I want to see that video. Post that.
I ain't gonna post it, but I got you.
Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah, but yeah, because then that you know that'll open up a whole can of worms. You still a Hogan fan? And like, look, man.
Just like who you like, and I understand how people feel because I do also feel that way. But if you want to cancel somebody, that is your personal decision.
Yeah.
Don't put that on someone else. I've had people, and wrestling fans are so mean sometimes, and they're supportive, but they're so. I have had people
promo. I love it.
Yeah. I had to literally like mute tweets that I've been on because people will hate me because they're like, you disloyal, you watch AEW instead of NXT. Who do you think why you got the nerve to have a show talking about wrestling and you over here watching the D League? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow, that's crazy. They you know, it's crazy, you know, like I said, me, it's one of those things, I'm, you know, wrong. You will be chastised. I haven't called him out about the last stuff he did, but I'm not going to let that like continue for me to, I'm not going to hold that hatred. But I will say like, you know, I came out to the music, and it would be lovely to see Mick Foley. Did you read his book?
I haven't finished it.
Okay, yeah, I've read it. That's what made me a huge fan of his. Like, I think Cactus Jack is probably my favorite persona out of all of them, just because of that music. But
I don't get why people love Dude Love so much. I'm like,
I don't either, but that was also a time when Dude Love was out. I wasn't watching active wrestling because we got rid of cable in 97, around the time when Stone Cold, just before it was around Bret, when Bret Hart was a heel. And at this time, I'm like really transitioning, like really watching sports real heavy, but I'm still like turning on Raw out of habit. We get rid of it, and then we don't get. Then 98, I discovered Shotgun Saturday Night, and I remember thinking like, man, if I'd have just known that it was on network TV this whole time, I wouldn't have had this gap. But so when Dude Love was happening, I didn't know much about it. So that's the reason why I wasn't like the big Dude Love guy. The music is cool, but
I love Mankind.
Yeah.
And what I love now is like the WWE network, people talk about whatever. It's a worthy investment because you get to relive moments that you just weren't around for. Whether you're just too young or whether you were in a stage where like you weren't watching wrestling. But some of my favorite like standout people, I've never seen them perform in arena, like, or I've never been to a show. Like people, I love China. I've never been there in the same room with her, but like I see little kids, like my little cousin's daughter is obsessed with the Bella Twins. And I'm like, what? Like, how is she so obsessed? I'm like, Gabby, why do you like the Bella Twins? And it's because of the WWE Network. Because she went back and watched the matches because she likes Total Bellas and Total Divas. But I'm like, it's so weird to me how like a 10-year-old could love the Bella Twins and have missed their entire era. But because of all this archive footage, we could be a fan of whoever.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. And even with it going over to Peacock now, that's going to be you wait, watch your wrestling opinion will take off even more because you're going to have so many of the fans.
I received that.
Yeah, so many fans who will have access to it because it was like, I ain't paying for the network because they just think it's new stuff. But because like I know with Xfinity, you automatically get Peacock. So people are going to have access to wrestling that didn't have it before. And it's going to be a great time, I think, for a lot of us content creators.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to, when I was thinking about putting a show together, I was like, I'm going to launch another page or something, but I'm glad I kept it on my personal Instagram page because I get so many messages from people who follow me from Wizards, who follow me from the radio station or whatever, because they like sneakers, who now watch wrestling because of what they saw on my page. And of course, I lost a couple followers who didn't want to watch my wrestling opinion, but it's definitely something to be tapped into there. And as much as we hate sometimes when WWE depends on nostalgia, sometimes it's necessary. I posted up me watching Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold and Sasha Banks. And there's people in my comments like, oh, what is that? I'm about to watch. Who had no idea who Sasha Banks was, but was like, Stone Cold? Okay, I'm about to watch it. And I was like, this is crazy, the amount of people who can become at least casual fans who aren't consuming any wrestling content now if we just package it the right way.
And you got to look at it too. You make wrestling cool.
What?
Believe it or not, like, and this is one of the things that I was told. I never forget this one tweet, and I had posted. It was just a clip of like me and Dwayne talking about. It was our "Give Me the Book" segment, and it was about rebooking Bret Hart's run in WCW, and the dude tweeted, I don't know who these Negroes are, but I want them to win. I'm about to follow them. And because we, the production was, up to par and we wasn't sitting up there acting crazy. We was just two brothers talking wrestling, and it's good to see a lot of Black wrestling podcasts, kind of been doing a lot of collaboration. But before, a lot of people, they wasn't seeing that. So, when they see a Black woman talking wrestling, like I know, like I started following you, one same last name. I was like, oh, we might be related. In the media. And then, one day it was when AEW was before their first show, it was something about one of their announcements. And I remember like I like replied and then you respond. I was like, oh, okay, so she's cool. She's not somebody to think, oh, too big to talk to this person. And then obviously we meet at the AEW
I
show.
talk to strangers a lot.
Yeah, but you can see where most people would think you wouldn't. And then, we go to the AEW show, we meet, and you'll see like people, I remember standing next to Antonio Banks, my boy, who's also a Corbin fan, and we was coming out of the pizza spot across the street, and I saw a crowd around you, and you had your camera, and I said, yo, that's Britt Waters. I'm about to go meet her and get a picture. And sure enough, and and then obviously, friendship, and realize
we started a whole family.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
And
So
I miss that so much. I miss seeing people. Like, I was in Starbucks the other day. I'm in Starbucks every day, so that could be any day. But I saw this guy, and I was like looking at it. And when you work a million jobs, you don't know, do I work with you? Where do I know you? And I was like, I stood next to this man the whole time at the last Raw that had fans that was in DC. And I was like, we talked the whole night, but you don't always know people. You don't exchange information. But I'm like, how many people like around here have I just like had these amazing moments with? And we're missing out on that because we can't go to shows. So it's good to do stuff like this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't wait. I can and I can't. I want things to be in decency and order before we get back, but I can't wait till we can, because I do think it's going to be great between wrestling and sports, because so many things we took for granted.
Yeah.
I saw something was a lot of people walking together, and they said, will we ever have that confidence again where everybody can just be in a big crowd and we all be together? So
it's scary. And hearing Sasha talk on Broken Skull Sessions about the difference of just having some fake crowd noise pumped in. Like, I'm sure it's affecting them in a different way, just like it affects us in a different way. I mean, the last Mania, I was on a Zoom with a whole bunch of wrestling marks, but like, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And knowing the opportunities around Mania that come for indie wrestlers to have events and to have signings and stuff like that aren't happening. And all the promotions that might never come back because of what COVID has done. Like, it's a scary feeling, but I definitely appreciate the times that we did have, and I can't wait to do it again.
Have you ever been to WrestleCon? Did you go in Jersey?
I didn't. Okay. You know me.
Yeah, I went to the one in 2013, the first one. I went with Mia Yim. She was facing Awesome Kong in the opening night of Shimmer. And just to take you back, on that Shimmer show was Mia Yim, Allie, Leva Bates, what's her name? Aja Kong, who's in New Japan.
Yep.
And
I want to watch this now.
Yeah, who else was it? Ember Moon, when she was Athena. All these people. Oh, Asuka. And I didn't even realize. My boy was like, Blake was like, yeah, Asuka was there too. I was like, she was.
We need to have an Asuka conversation.
Yeah. and Billy Kay. And I remember because I was a huge fan of Jessie McKay. She was Jessie McKay on the Indies. And so all of these people was on the show. Zelina Vega was Rosita at the time. And, just seeing all of them. And at this convention, I got to meet the late, great Butch Reed that day. And I didn't recognize. I remember I got a picture and I said to Corey, who was that again? He's like, Butch Reed. I was like, yeah. So, and that's why I interviewed the Mean Street Posse. That interview was on the, interviewed them and Eugene. And they were really cool. So yeah, that's what we got to get to WrestleCon.
Yes, that'd be
before we get out of here, the show is called Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. So when was the moment that Britt Waters broke through the glass ceiling where you realized I'm pretty good at what I'm pretty good at what I do, and I'm here?
Thankfully a few times, but I would have to say definitely getting chosen for NBA All-Star. That was crazy to me because I have been hosting in the WNBA for years, the AFL. I touched every other league, it felt like, except the NBA. And it wasn't my first time trying to be an NBA host. The other times it didn't work out. So to be in my first season with the Wizards and only have a few months in as an NBA host and to be chosen, to be an all-star host, like not every host goes. There's people who have been hosting for years and didn't get to go. My boss called me and she's like, oh, there was an NBA rep at one of the last games. We have some things to talk to you about. And I'm like stressing, I'm sweating. And they call me and I just cried like a baby. Wow. I was like, because I think it just comes with being in the spotlight and even being a millennial too, that you have self-doubt because not everything else is always as reassuring as it could be, So that moment was like, wow, I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be here. As much as people say like, you need to get back to full-time radio. I was like, I really love being in a capacity that I'm in now. And it allows me to do everything else and getting that reassurance. It felt so good. Like
now
it was an intimidating experience.
I can imagine. Now also, that's the first all-star game after losing Kobe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Now
it was very fresh.
Yeah. And how did you deal with that? You being like me, a huge Kobe fan, like me, I cried. Like I was in New Orleans. I get Corey sent the text in the group and my manager was standing right next to me. And I said, no effing way 3 times. Another doctor at this conference, I had just finished filming our doctors. And another doctor said, oh, I thought you lost your footage. And my first thought was, I wish that's what I was saying that to. But to find that out, but you getting this opportunity right after that, like, how much did that mean to you, especially considering you've been a fan of his?
It meant everything. When I found out Kobe passed, I was in New York City doing my radio shows on New 102.7. I found out right before my show. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to tell my boss I'm sick. And I was in New York, so it's kind of closer to Jersey. And I was like, I'm just going to come home and cry in your lap. And she was like, is that the Mamba mentality? Is that what you want to do? And I was like, ah! And it was like a part of me had to continue to work. And I just went through that mentality for so long because I had to compartmentalize. So I was like, to get through that show, I mean, I had to talk about it a few times, but I kind of pretended it didn't happen. And I shouldn't have done this, but I did it for the next like week or two, because when I got selected for All-Star, the first thought in my head was, oh my gosh, I get to meet Kobe Bryant. Like, so I was hyped for that and I just kind of put it aside. But when I got to All-Star, and it's like, not only are you surrounded by NBA fans and NBA personnel during the events, but the whole city is filled. Like our whole entire hotel was the NBA. So you were around people who were going through the same thing. And it's the first time I stopped having doubt that it happened and compartmentalized and pretending and actually dealt with it. We all cried when the tribute happened together, and just being surrounded by so much love and people that loved him just as much. It was therapeutic. And I was just so glad to be in there and there in the capacity that I was, because everybody was going through the same thing.
Wow. It's interesting. Like, you said your mother said, is that the Mamba mentality? Because I was in the middle of editing a video and that was the first thing I thought of. All right. Kobe was like, boy, if you don't get your up and keep editing. And it's like so many people have said that in different ways, like to keep that Mamba mentality, just to go to show you the type of impact that he had. Did you ever get a chance to see him in person?
I saw him in games, but I never had a conversation with him or got that close. But I remember I saw him a few times actually, because me and my dad, of course, during Allen Iverson era, used to always go to games. So we did the Kobe games, and then I last saw him play his last season at Staples Center. And then every time he was around in DC. So I always at the games, but never like on a personal level. But it's one of those things too that, like, I don't know, I have a really weird thing with meeting people that you're obsessed with, because I never want to be let down. And I'm okay with it. I'm just like, I know who he is in my head and who it means to me. And yeah, it was a moment I'm glad I got to have.
Yeah. I mean, but the first game I covered when I was working with Fox Sports 1340, first NBA game was his final game in DC. And if you remember, I believe it was right before his last game in Philly where he made the announcement. And then the DC game, and everybody was there. And one of the best things that happened to me was meeting Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. And
shout out to him. He's good people.
just having a conversation with him while we were waiting to get in the media part where Kobe was doing his press conference. And I said something. I said, "Oh man, you're Kobe now." I'm saying I didn't realize it was him, but I saw he had a jersey under his suit jacket. And I said, "Oh, you're a Kobe fan just like me. We gotta get a picture." And he kept telling me, he said, "I told him he's better than Jordan." I said, "Let me shake your hand because I feel the same way." And so
Kobe's the greatest to me. I mean, you know that. I got where's my Kobe at?
See, there
I got love.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from? I gotta ask.
My best friend got it for me in college, and it somehow survived this whole time. It's from Fathead though, so it's probably on Fathead's website. But for me, it was like everybody I looked up to or was a fan of was also a fan of Kobe. So I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big Kanye fan. So when Kanye made songs about Kobe, who made a whole t-shirt design for Kobe, who said Kobe is the greatest. And, you know, Kanye, I'm sure thinks himself is the greatest, but to be honest, that Kobe's better than him. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, Britt, I don't know. It took up a lot of your time.
It's okay.
I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you've been having a very busy schedule filled with lots of media requests. I'm glad you could fit your bloodline in.
This is family time. That's what that is.
There you go. There you go. Let the people know where they can find you.
On Instagram, all social media at It's Britt Waters, ITSBRITT Waters. BrittWaters.com is where I put like my my professional stuff. You can listen to me on Sirus XM, channel 3, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. for the Pandora Thumb 20, all of the Wizards home games. Just, I could do this for days. So just Google me, I'll show up.
There you go. Y'all really said Google her. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me and continuing to do all of the platforms that you do. We appreciate it. Like, I love hearing you talk about wrestling, but I also love to hear all of the stories of people that I didn't even know on the Breaking the Glass Ceiling show. I was like, oh, I didn't even know about them. Like, so many, half the people I follow on Twitter in the industry are people that I've just seen off of them being on your show.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that conversation that I had with my family, Britt Waters. Make sure you follow her on all social media platforms at It's Britt Waters. Next week, we continue Women's Month here on Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings as I bring on the one and only Miss Tarika Foster Brasby. Tarika is a superstar multimedia journalist and podcast producer at ESPN, and she will come on to share her story as she was instrumental in getting a women's basketball podcast. So you won't want to miss that conversation, as well as we talk about one of my favorite podcasts that's no longer here, but we'll talk about that more. So make sure you tune in, folks. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Shoot a 5-star rating, and connect with the guest I have on here. If this is your first time listening, go back and listen, as many people have came on and told great stories. So that's one of the reasons why I love doing the show. Folks, remember, do not let anyone set up a ceiling that you can't break through. This podcast is brought to you by B Waters Productions. You can follow B Waters Productions on all social media platforms. And the music is produced by Hypno Beats. Follow on Instagram at Hypno_Beats with a Z.